Hello. I come from outside the wall.
This is a recording at the end of Insurgent, but it functions as narration here, so you can see the bind I'm in. Also, you might ask yourself, why are you doing Allegiant now? That came out in 2016. Get your together. And then you might tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house. And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful wife. And you may ask yourself, how did I get here? Just want to mention that the only reason why they're climbing this building is to get a good view of the wall and maybe make out. There are likely dozens of places they could do both those things, and it doesn't require climbing a bombed-out skyscraper. Pressing your partner's head against a jagged anything while making out.
Didn't take long to make the same mistakes as Janine.
It also didn't take long for me to remember how much I detest teenagers making observations about the complexity of apocalyptic societal reconstruction.
I still think I can bring her around.
If you remember Insurgent like I don't, Fuller vehemently distrusted his mother and didn't want Tris to work with her. Saying he still thinks he can bring her around implies dialogue and character development that does not exist, and the movie is doing a lazy job forcing us to fill in some foundational cracks right out of the gate.
I need you to get some things for me.
I figured I'd tell you this now, at the checkpoint, rather than way earlier.
I will not stop leading the pursuit of honesty.
And then the Jack character never appears in any scene for the rest of the movie.
Janine! Janine is dead!
Wow, this rowdy crowd went nearly dead silent immediately once Joanna started talking. It's almost like they know they're in a movie and need to be quiet or something. Unnecessary split diopter shot is unnecessary.
I don't want to die.
Neither did your sheep.
Damn it! Now that Mekhi Phifer is gone, this is no movie.
You know, it's Caleb's trial tomorrow.
Why tomorrow? It seems like they could have easily taken care of all the prisoners in one day, considering that all it takes is giving them truth serum and killing them if they admit to wrongdoing. But I guess that's good for the plot, since we know Caleb is going to get saved just before he's executed. Also, I wonder what clever way they'll come up with to get Caleb out of prison.
I'm gonna deal with this one. Do you think I'm asking your permission?
Oh. How is this place in the background so heavily guarded, but in the opposite direction nobody's watching?
All erudite prisoners are supposed to be locked in the cages.
I can handle this one myself.
This convenient lower level 4 just pushed Caleb in 2 makes me wonder what the plan would have been if it wasn't here. This mysterious grove appears to have been created exactly for this situation. Also, I don't know why the movie is pretending like Caleb is dead, like it's going to be some big surprise when he emerges alive. Everyone watching knows Caleb isn't dead. Sliding your piece into your pants aimed directly at your penis.
Get in the car.
Calling a tank a car.
You do have a plan, right?
The exact question I have for the movie creators during each film somehow makes its way into the biggest disappointment in the franchise.
Let me see your movement order.
Jesus Christ, dude, this is not the time for your toilet fetish.
I got everything, just open the gate.
And just like that, the unresolved tension of Tris killing Will melts away. Oh, did you forget about Will? Yeah, the total lack of lines aimed at providing dimension for Christina's character will do that to you. Even though Maggie Q wasn't in the tank with them during their daring escape, here she is, hanging out with the crew like she's been here all along. Tris ordered Tori to get these grappling hooks, to which Tori said,
It's impossible.
Anyway, I'm glad the mission went well. I'm sure it was way more exciting than what we've seen so far, which is probably why it isn't in the movie.
Evelyn electrified the fence.
Oh, so are you saying she just had electric fence wiring ready to go after she took power? How long would it have taken to install that? This is a wall that completely surrounds the former Chicago. She found a way to electrify it that quickly? Or is the movie saying that the infrastructure for an electrified fence was already in place and they just flipped a switch? If so, why was it ever off? Somehow, Tris and 4 managed to execute a perfect plan without any communication, which forces me to ask why we need to hear them talk to each other for the rest of the movie. These assholes hang off the wall for a better view of the showdown below rather than getting involved or climbing for better coverage. Tris's bomb not only takes out one of the enemy trucks, but, as an unknown benefit, also destroys a wire leading to the electrical fence, solving nearly all their problems in the most tidy way possible. Everyone starts doing their tasks on the wall, but Tris, who forgets she can be shot and shifts into sightseeing mode.
We did it.
God damn it, Tris.
Come on, this way.
Says the guy that has never been on the other side of the wall and has no idea where he's going. I see 3 people with backpacks in this shot, and I'm wondering if they even thought they might need food that would last longer than a few days.
What happened here?
I have no idea. Considering from above, it looked like you had about a month-long walk to get through the green forest of the gorgeous rolling hills of paradise they showed us a minute ago. How are we supposed to forget what we saw 1 minute ago? Jesus.
This hole looks radioactive.
Which prompted me to search how can you tell if a hole is radioactive, which led to information about black holes, which led to quantum vacuum fluctuations, which led to a terrifying realization that particles briefly come in and out of existence, which reminded me about the dangers of transporters and that none of the characters in Star Trek are actually themselves anymore. Since everyone is acting really confused about this rain, I guess in this future storms magically avoid drifting from the devastated landscape to Chicago, because wind doesn't work that way.
This is fun. I'm glad we did this.
I'm sure this is sort of the point because Peter is an asshole, but he blackmailed these people so he could tag along. Not one person here calls him out on it. Unfortunately, everything in this movie looks like a giant green screen that rejected the visual effects they tried to key in. Rather than duck into the ravine, these idiots run into the unknown landscape on open ground while a gun-toting vehicle races after them. Did the sudden collapse of their faction system fracture their strategic military training? How are they so dumb? Deus Ex Machina, the movie.
Our plasma globes will protect you from the toxicity.
And also lift you into the air, attach you to the side of a flying machine, and protect you from the wind burn. How did you forget to mention those extra features? Also, they've been waiting for these assholes for God knows how long, and they couldn't even put them inside a ship. Here's some plasma globes. You ride on the outside, f***os.
We're gonna be okay.
God damn it, Triss.
Welcome to the Bureau of Genetic Welfare.
Ah, sudden Pennywise.
Please remove your clothes and place them in the incineration hatch.
I promise nothing will be recorded and shared with my buddies later. But, just so you know, I am watching attentively.
Place your feet on the mark.
Why the f*** didn't Triss and the others get an explanation of what was going to happen before they went through it? Yes, everything here is benevolent, but there's a creepy dude watching you get naked while you get thrown into a shrink-wrap shower that scares the f*** out of anyone who doesn't know what it is. Whole fun, holograms, the weird things that look futuristic and look like we took several steps back with visual media presentation at the same time.
Scientists first discovered a way to map, then edit the human genome.
Pronouncing the word genome as if it's spelled genome.
What's an airport?
This asshole looked at a f***ing hole and assessed its radioactive history in seconds, but doesn't know what an airport is. Jesus f***ing crackers.
Our surveillance technology is centuries ahead of anything you've known in Chicago. They've grown up watching you.
They've watched Triss and 4 several times.
You have to forgive everyone for staring, but your arrival is the most exciting event some of us have ever known.
Aside from watching Triss and 4 several times. Also, you know what you're never going to see in this movie, even though they've explained that Triss and 4 are celebrities? Not one TV showing them what's going on in Chicago. Now, we do see Caleb doing surveillance there from this cubicle later, but nothing suggests that the entire population is watching.
Clothes?
Thanks.
You can put them on the way there. The clothes you're currently wearing, everyone will forget you had those on when you walk through that door. 4 runs up the stairs and outside without asking anyone one question, and somehow knows to look up to the sky to find Triss. Yes, he saw her go up this stairway, but after that, she could have gone anywhere. This boner beacon is strong. Also, let me be very clear, there is no way he sees her riding in the Cloud City hovervator, but movie lies to us and says that he can. Triss spotting 4 from here is also bullshit.
Oh, Triss, I know you. I watched you being born.
So far, the third movie in this series is half The Truman Show and half Gattaca, which were both written by Andrew Niccol. It even stars a guy who was in Gattaca. And I'd normally say there's no way a guy like that would do a movie like this, till I remembered he did that The Host, co-written by him and the Twilight author. Anyway, I am just bringing up the blatant ripoff of 2 other movies and still somehow give a backhanded compliment to someone who didn't even work on this movie, all from the comfort of my mom's basement. I pay rent.
If we could rescue genetically damaged people from the toxic environment in the fringe and put them in a safe place like Chicago, then perhaps over time, man's genetic material would heal itself.
You guys are calling this an experiment? I don't see an independent variable here that you are manipulating to get a result. You're just dumping people in a city and your scientific process is hoping. Besides, has nobody ever heard of CRISPR? You'd think the gene technology would be super advanced 200 years from now to the point where turning off the dangerous asshole gene would be a simple process. I get it, it's science fiction. Let's let them have their futuristic problem that shouldn't be a problem, grumble. This compact mirror with stored memories is like the pensieve in Harry Potter. It's as if we've been dumped into the movie Dumb and Dumbledore.
They're your mother's memory tabs.
Triss knows that science can use tech to make reality be whatever they want it to be. She watched her faction turn into battle drones from the limited tech in Chicago. I don't understand how she trusts this tech to do anything other than harm her.
Do you trust him, David?
I trust her.
What's amazing to me is that Triss should be smart enough to know that her mom's memories could easily have been manipulated to look real. In the last movie, she went through a series of virtual reality tests that seemed real, but she was smart enough to know they weren't, which is why it's goddamn flabbergasting that she doesn't even consider that the memories she saw were faked. If this surveillance technology is so awesome, why does it have this many visual glitches? This terrible drone scans for and incorrectly identifies him as the movie Independence Day. Nita isn't immediately shot in self-defense in this scene. All this wonderful technology, and Caleb still has to run out of his cubicle to go tell people what he saw, rather than simply using a radio, phone, or email. They don't even give this motherfucker a messenger owl.
Caleb said that some of the dauntless are lining up with Joanna. But the rest of Candor is still solid with Evelyn.
First off, it's completely confusing to say part of this one group is joining one side, but the rest of some completely other group is joining the other side, and then just leave out the three other factions completely. Second off, the Dauntless are the ones who are brave, the trained fighters of the 5 factions. Candor is made up of a bunch of assholes who tell the truth all the time. Go ahead, pick which one you think has the edge.
You know, when were you going to tell me?
I just realized that the previous 2 movies left out the lover's third act conflict cliche and have likely saved it all up for this movie. Yay? I can't decide if I'm annoyed or relieved that these bowls are distractingly full in one shot and easily ignored and empty in the next, because now I'm hyper-focused on the kale. And you know it's kale because kale doesn't give a f***. It will survive a toxic apocalyptic wasteland.
Next time you go to the Fringe, I want in.
You're not ready.
I'm going.
This works.
Everything's fine.
Turns out that everything between 4 and Triss is actually fine, which makes this quiet tension-building scene all the more useless to the plot of the movie. Holy shit, Zoe Kravitz is in this movie. Also, just a minute ago, 4 had to ask about tagging along on a Fringe mission and was turned down because they didn't believe he was ready. After he replied, "No, I am so going," they let him go. But I'm wondering if Christina had to insist on going as well. If 4 isn't ready to go on a mission, then she definitely isn't. The last 2 movies have been any indication about their skills at all.
Dauntless! If it was up to me, you would not be out here.
Who the f*** is it up to then? We've seen 2 people in the power structure and neither of them can apparently override a simple "I'm going."
I know you think it was tough in Chicago, but this is the Fringe. Understood?
Oh no, is it even worse than the Scorch? Movie immediately undermines the radical handiness of the drone by having 4 simply look over and see something with his own eyes. Whee! 2016 was really overconfident when they assumed people wanted to see scene after scene of a drone puck flying through the air, weren't they? God damn. Sign this kid up for the nearest Major League Baseball team. Oh, baseball isn't a thing anymore? What's the apocalypse? Well, how long does the apocalypse last anyway? Yeah, but the Yankees were still a thing in Interstellar, giving the role of comforting parent figure to the female actor that has nothing better to do in this entire fucking movie. All of us who were so bored with the political chatter that we begged the movie gods for an action sequence because our prayers were heard, and now we spend the next 5 minutes watching children kidnapped and memory wiped. Neat.
Get us ready for Providence. We're on my ship within an hour.
It's really fucking weird that the director of this place had to walk all the way down to the living quarters to give this order. Why wouldn't he be able to just call for a ship and have it ready somewhere near his lofty office space? In fact, later on, that's exactly what we see. What the fucking was this scene?
David takes them out from here, wipes the memories with the gas, and raises them in the bureau.
Haha, what? What for? I mean, if the point is to find more pure divergence like Triss, what the is Chicago all about then? Who's taking care of all these kids anyway? The drama is definitely now amped up to its highest levels, so it's time for 4 to take a shower and turn around with a purpose to the camera to show he means business, and to show his business, maybe. Anyway, this is serious, very serious. I shouldn't joke about either of his businesses.
They were all unarmed.
When the did this happen? I know there's a war going on in Chicago, but the movie hasn't really shown us any of it. I guess they wanted to show it, but because the producers ran out of time in one of those machines where you have to catch the dollar bills blowing around in the air, they couldn't secure the funding.
Today we take Evelyn down.
Ooh, time to watch some strategic military stuff.
Whatever it takes.
Wait, that's it? That's the plan? Just hand a bunch of guns to the people that didn't like to execute war criminals a few days ago and then kill them all whatever it takes style? I'm really beginning to side with David here. The damaged are maybe too dangerous for their own good.
Central elevator's been compromised.
Wild to think that the highly advanced technology of this future can't reverse an elevator's direction or simply stop it from moving altogether. Theo James is Staring Intently Upward, the new film from ChatGPT and the T-1000. Dude, get your hand off your girlfriend's throat. Oh, thanks.
I have to go.
I think everyone was instructed to just say the absolute most basic line and then stare strongly at their counterpart. You know, let the audience fill in the blanks a bit on what they could be feeling or thinking. Certainly having the character say anything with depth isn't a good idea for the dumb people watching. Just all of us. We are all dumb for watching this.
If 4 doesn't see that, it's not your fault.
Triss doesn't immediately realize that 4's lack of understanding about David and her work is fully her fault, considering she hasn't done shit to explain anything to anyone this entire movie.
David never wanted you to see what you saw out on the Fringe. He keeps tight control. Nothing happens without his approval.
So why was 4 able to go on that mission earlier then? If you're saying that David was the one who allowed 4 to go on the mission, then don't preface it by saying David never wanted you to see the thing that you saw. They could have done anything they wanted to 4 here to prevent him from fighting back. They could have cuffed and gagged him, and that would not only have prevented him from fighting back, but prevented him from doing the Atreides voice. Also, I know what you're thinking. They wanted to stage something to make it look like 4 needed to be killed, but these people answer to no one, basically. They have their own set of rules. It's not like the world's greatest detective is going to come out here and solve the case. They could have killed him in David's office if they wanted. Motherfucker took someone hostage and hijacked the elevator, for Christ's sake. Movie thinks that just because I see 4 grabbing onto this cargo netting that I will completely forgive it once he survives this giant crash.
Welcome to Providence.
Or with anything. Okay, Triss, the council meets here in this misshapen Cadbury egg in the middle of the water held up by 2 giant skis. It's not weird. You're weird. Anyway, let's go see the bosses. Can't wait for this movie to finally get to who the real bad guys are. Faction to fringe to bureau to council, we get it. None of these societies are great. Pick one to adapt to and let's end this story already.
Human beings cannot be categorized in this way. And maybe it's time to start embracing everyone instead of dividing them into groups.
So there's the rub. This is the trilogy's thesis. If it wasn't obvious from the moment you heard about the 5 factions in the first movie, we didn't need to sit through 3, almost 4 movies plus the 4 Hunger Games and the 3 Maze Runners to get to this point. Besides, if there wasn't a council dividing people into factions, there would still be mean girls. Also, it's pretty stunning that David didn't prep Triss for this meeting. Did he really think the council wouldn't ask to speak with her? This is a 200-year experiment where they've been looking for divergence and she's the only one. And he doesn't think of a contingency plan in case Triss says something that f***s everything up?
He's only here to extend his funding.
Movies do this weird thing with surprise villains where everything about them is supposed to put the main character at ease, but once the sinister reveal happens, you wonder why he didn't just gas Triss at the very beginning and brainwash her to say whatever he wanted so he'd get his funding.
The factions work, Triss. They keep the peace. They created you.
How? Triss has specific DNA that makes her pure, which means the combination of her genetic line led to her existence, not a political governing body.
You want change with no sacrifice. You want peace with no struggle.
Either David never really watched Triss sacrifice herself for peace and struggle through all that she lost, or the movie makers figured we'd forget the first 2 films, which I did forget and had to rewatch to make any of this make sense, so f*** you franchise for wasting my time more than once and contradicting yourself.
You don't know what he's capable of.
And thanks to the total lack of interest to explore David's darkness in lieu of extended staring scenes and drone footage throughout the movie, neither do we. The movie has reached its most famous sequence, 18 seconds of walking. I'm not over it yet. These 2 were hanging on to cargo netting to secure their bodies when they crashed. They had no protective gear on. They are not superhumans. They shouldn't be able to walk, talk, or breathe. Stupid science fiction orb has to come out of the camo wall to scan a card, which is just f***ing dumb. Remember when they got here? They got these Mark of the Beast tattoos that they've been using to access parts of the building depending on whether they are pure or damaged. Why the f*** do they need to make cards when they have such a foolproof system with the tattoos?
Ford would never leave anyone behind at the crash site.
He told me you would say that.
Well, actually, Keith from Barbarian, he told you that she would know you were lying. He didn't say shit about what she might say. Oh, did I nitpick? Did I hurt the precious little movie? Does the movie need to see a script doctor? Yes. Yes, it does.
Come on, Ford, where are you?
Looking at Caleb's display, how are you supposed to find anyone on this map? The streets of Chicago look abandoned, and the display doesn't appear to be showing people at all. Plus, again, I'll bring up that tattoo. It's ludicrous to have technology as sophisticated as this, and it can't find one of those scanner tattoos almost instantly. Holy shit, Zoe Kravitz is in this movie. Caleb finds Floor and assures Triss that he's all right, but then shows her footage of him being beaten unconscious. I love how the screen starts bubbling like someone lit a match under the film's emulsion, indicating to you that you're watching Caleb's stupid virtual reality display. Yet the movie still feels the need to let Triss photobomb the scene like Ebenezer Scrooge, as if it's not confident that you know how this works.
Make sure he gets a good dose.
Apparently, they give him a dose that is super potent, since we see him tripping balls after they gas him. Why do we see this instead of just going straight to the amnesia part?
Why would David support Evelyn? Doesn't make any sense.
None of this makes sense. And suddenly this movie has given me an appreciation for the exposition via PowerPoint presentation cliche. This is the second time today that people have taken Ford prisoner and they haven't done shit to secure him.
Get Christina and meet me outside.
Just anywhere outside will do. A non-specific, general sort of outside, for clarity.
Triss, you need to forget about Chicago.
If only there was some sort of serum that could assist with that.
Autopilot engaged.
Pretty neat that the autopilot knows to go to the tarmac to pick up a few buddies before continuing on with their destination.
Triss Pryor is stealing my craft. Bring her back.
Oh, so there is a communication system other than walking all over the building until you find the person you want to talk to around here.
These are for you and Triss. How'd you know we were leaving?
You're not the only ones who hate David.
That doesn't answer the question at all. I would like to remind everyone that there is nothing strapping Christina down here, and because Christina told Caleb not to touch her, he's not holding her back either. So how the f*** has she not fallen into the windshield at this point?
Hold on!
I know Triss is divergent, but that doesn't mean able to perform this maneuver in a ship she's never piloted in her life. The f***? Did they just enter the Guggenheim?
Hey, whoa, hey, what are you doing?
Levity. Earlier in the movie, some asshole kid threw a rock with deadly accuracy at these things. These guys have guns and don't even try to shoot them. You might be wondering how Ford acquired a wristband that can open his prison door. Well, he tossed this dude on the ground and in a blink and you'll miss it moment, quickly grabbed the wristband. But right after he grabs it, he's picked up by 2 other guys and has no chance to pocket it. Then he gets knocked the f*** out. He somehow didn't drop it and no one noticed it in his hand when they dragged him back into his cell. Skip.
No,
If you press that button, no one else will ever know what happened to them.
The movie doesn't provide viewers with a button to erase this entire series from our brains.
Evelyn, you have to stop this right now.
No worries, the serum was at 87.4 and now it's lowered to 80.2. The movie's taking care of the tension for you. Okay, what are these things? They're like little fans inside cylinders attached to buildings that are somehow connected to a pipeline that leads back to headquarters? What exactly were these for before this? Remember back at the beginning of this movie when Triss and Ford were admiring the view? I don't think I see those fans on any of those buildings.
There's a choke point where the vapor gets pumped out.
Cut their comm line to the ship.
If you can cut the comm line to their ship, then you should be able to autopilot this bullshit back to your office. And why would you ever have something set up here where you could cut off the director's ship's comm line remotely? Amazing how the orange gas inside the building conveniently settles on the floor and never drifts up, giving the heroes time to work out how to fix the problem.
Triss, look at this. It's really smart. So they ran the pipe into the air duct.
They fucking ran what through the fucking what? When did they have time to do that? What's hilarious is Triss interrupts him before he can finish because even the movie knows that's a stupid explanation. Triss is about to run down into the air ducts to find the thing that's blowing up all the gas everywhere, and all I can think about is how the orange gas was coming up through these very grates when Rooster Bradshaw was in here a minute ago. How the did they explain the gas suddenly setting up a perimeter around the walls now? And how is there no gas down in these tunnels she's about to run through?
Triss, I control everything.
David makes for a really shitty Joker, and even shittier Killing Joke cosplayer.
I can even seal the room you're in right now.
David suddenly has powers that he, quite frankly, should have been using from the beginning.
Serum release halted.
How's that for damage?
You.
It's clear.
I mean, where the were these people that was so safe? If you put orange gas in the air ducts, why was this building so protected?
I'm here to reveal the truth.
In a few weeks, Chicago has seen Janine, a founder, Evelyn, and now Triss up there on screen. How anyone would trust anything coming out of anyone's mouth is beyond me.
I've set the autopilot right for our friend's neighborhood, along with a little surprise for when it goes through the camouflage wall.
David still somehow can't control his own ship, even though he had control of everything, including a whole building, from the comfort of his office earlier. Also, it's really weird that Caleb decided to repair the windshield before sending it back with their bomb, right? Like, it seems like a lot of wasted effort. Teenagers, man. I honestly have no clue what this explosion means. Did they blow up the O'Hare airport and all those innocent orphans? Was it a camo wall? What actually exploded here? When it cuts back to Whiplash, we see some debris crashing to the ground, but nothing that tells us what they actually blew up. At the end of the movie, we see Jeff Daniels behind her like some sort of ghost of Christmas past creeper, which means the movie thought it was going to get a 4th chapter. They were going to call it Ascendant, but they should have called it The Descendants. Wait.
Is the movie over? I'm still down here and I'm still in quite a lot of pain.
We all knew Operation Playtime was a long shot.
We're gonna be okay.
You're gonna be okay. Say the goddamn words. You're gonna be okay.
Sorry, Goose, but it's time to buzz the tower.
Welcome to your new home.
Welcome to the Rock.
You must be the director.
I'm the director of NASA. I watched you being born.
I was watching when you took your first step. I watched you on your first day of school. The episode when you lost your first tooth.
You see these scars?
My father was a drinker and a fiend.
2 minutes to drop. It's all right to be scared. Remember, there's no courage without fear.
This is not the way.
Let her speak, David.
Look what you did, you little jerk!
Hello, Peter. What's happening?
You could be an axe murderer.
There's always that possibility.
You're right, David. It is over.